Our big story today: after years of delays, Maharashtra's ambitious cluster development policy is now in for a reboot. The state government is contemplating a series of amendments to the policy, including higher FSI and streamlined land acquisition to speed up the process. If passed, these proposed changes are expected to have a major impact on the housing sector within the state. Nikhil Sivadas has this report.
Bindi Bazaar in Mumbai is arguably the toughest redevelopment project in the city. Spread over 16.5 acres and comprising nearly 3,200 homes, cluster development was considered to be the only way to redevelop the area. But problems arose when a minority of landowners refused to part with their land.
We have had some difficulties with some of the owners. Let me tell you, we've got more than 85% of the owners who have consented, and we are the owners of that. So there are few remaining, and it takes time.
As a result, even though most permissions and approvals are in place, the Bindi Bazaar redevelopment project has been stuck in limbo. However, the State Housing Minister Sachin Ahir may have the solution to that problem.
अगर 60%, 70%,
If 60 to 70% tenants and landlords come together, or even 20 to 30%, or in the need of the hour 50% of the landlords don't come forward, and if such a high committee gives the approval to such a cluster, then all the people who do not come in its ambit, we will work to ensure that we take over the rights as for the land acquisition.
हम लेने का काम, एक्वायर करने का काम हम करेंगे.
This is one among a number of amendments that have been proposed to the cluster development policy within the state. Some of the key changes here include allowing development only after an economic survey of the cluster is performed, enabling easier land acquisition once majority consent has been received, encouraging larger clusters, and most crucially, providing higher FSI to builders.
In few days from now, the state government is working to bring in the new cluster policy that will fill all the voids that were there in the old policy.
The cluster development policy was introduced in 2009. Although it received nearly 48 proposals, most have not taken off thanks to regulations that made it financially unviable and difficult to implement. The government is hoping that the revised version will make the policy more attractive to all stakeholders.
The residential tenants get incentive, owners of the building gets incentive, and then if the larger the area for development, which government is trying to promote, that it should not be just 1 or 2 acre parcel, which will be 50, 20, 30, 40 acres. And if that happens, then they're planning to give additional incentive to the developer also. So when you consider all the constituents of it, I think they have attempted to satisfy all of them.
However, much of the revised policy's success will depend on the government's ability to follow through on their promises. Experts say the land acquisition provision in particular will be a big problem for it to tackle.
In the current scheme of things, at least till the last government was in saddle, any kind of government acquisition was thrown out as an idea. So unless the overall land acquisition norms are softened, if the whole land acquisition policy is relooked at, the concept of sovereign acquisition to me is far-fetched at the moment.
The government seems to be making all the right moves with its proposed amendments to the cluster development policy. Will the policy get sanctioned, and will it make a visible impact on projects like Bindi Bazaar and Mumbai skyline? That's a question that only time can tell. From Mumbai, Nikhil Sivadas, NDTV.